what are some of your favorite projects in the works? What's new? What's in the horizon for this quarter and this year?
I'm excited about Sims and Park.
Sims and Park. Okay.
Yeah,
Tell us a little more about Sims and Park. So what's going on there?
Yeah, so we bought those 5 lots.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty much developing the whole block.
Yeah.
You know, which is exciting in itself. But I think what's really exciting about it is I think we're making some changes on our design, especially on the exterior. Some of those panels, introducing some of the Prawdzik blue into it. We're still figuring that out. You know, we definitely want to leave a stamp behind.
The garage door.
No, we're not doing that. Matt wants to change the garage door to be this color right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember seeing a rendering of that.
The front door.
It's a hard line between coming up with something bold and distinct, but also to a certain degree, something that caters and appeals to people or market. So what's the creative process for us in design? Can you walk us a little bit through that? Do you get some of your inspiration through Instagram, through looking at other houses, through Pinterest? What's the creative process there?
I think it's a little bit of everything. No,
Yeah.
mean, I think the garage door is the color is very bold.
Yeah.
So when it's on a big section of the house, it may be a little much, you know, for some people.
Yeah.
I would have preferred, you know, even if we had like one of the bricks on our facade be just the Prawdzik color, and maybe we get, you know, the logo imprinted on there, right? Just like at the corner of the house.
Yeah.
Or then we saw the stamp,
It's not bad.
right? The stamp on the floor.
Yeah, the
Right.
concrete, yeah.
I thought
At
that
the
was
driveway.
super cool.
Yeah.
You know, well, it's got to be in the sidewalk, right?
Yeah, but like on the driveway.
Yeah, but either way, like leaving something behind where it's like people can know besides us knowing, or some people. Because again, if we decided to switch from the black,
Yeah.
right, it's going to be another transitional period of people recognizing who the homes are built by.
Right.
Because that's what everybody recognizes it by. And now we have, you know, we have some imitators and
Yeah.
some replicators.
I was
And
just going to say that I can't drive anywhere in the Union County area without seeing a few homes with the black look and the wood tones.
Yeah.
So I agree. It'd be cool to kind of implement something that's staple for us.
Yep.
And also recognizing that our style is always going to change over time. But at the same time, I think the cool thing about our homes is that they're timeless, especially the interiors, the way that we design them. And they're just a timeless look 10, 20 years from now. I hope that it's something that, you know, our clients are still liking. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think we play the line well between new and bold and timeless? And what's the balance there?
I think we do a good job. I do. It's difficult. I used to do it more than I do now. I don't really think much about the design now, you know, but
Why is that?
just because there's so many other
Yeah.
things going on. Like I can't think about that. That's why only certain times, like I'll download Instagram, I'll look at maybe a couple videos and say, okay, let's try that. Like the stamp, you know, I sent, or like different, like not really like like something that stands out for us, but something that's just like cool. Like, okay, let's do like a niche light that looks like this, or let's do a staircase light that looks like this, or let's do a tile sequence or pattern that looks like this.
Yeah.
You know, like again, subtle, stupid things that people might not notice until they're like, oh wow, yeah, like that's different here.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's, oh, that's our signature thing. Like I guarantee 100%, no doubt about it, want to implement our blue somewhere, because then you really know because it's so easy to copy, but the blue is not. The blue is like, not many people have this color. I don't know anybody that has this color. I can't even think of somebody that has this color.
I really also don't think that anybody would go out of their way to copy that.
The blue?
Like do the whole black home and then find the blue stamp to put it somewhere. Like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Right.
And you made a couple good points, like inside of the dining room, maybe like a piece of trim is the color blue, or maybe we make the kitchen blue.
I don't want to get too bold.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe we do the whole house blue.
I don't want to get too bold. We've been through the blue phases, right? We did the blues, we did the grays.
You know what'd be really cool now
The
I'm thinking
whites.
about it? We can make like you know how you drop a paint bucket, or like, you know, like Nickelodeon, the slime, right?
Okay.
You can drop a paint bucket in the middle of the garage and then epoxy it so it looks like a big blue blob.
So coming back to Sims and Park, exciting because we build a lot in Scotch Plains, and now we get the opportunity to build 5 homes at the same time.
Yeah.
So what are some of the new things we're trying to implement at Sims and Park?
The biggest thing right now is, I mean, listen, we have a laundry list of stuff. I think we're always adapting and adding, you know, what we consider the Prawdzik standard.
Yep.
We're always adding new features. We're looking at what other people are doing. We're looking at Pinterest. We're looking at Instagram. The biggest thing is changing the wood paneling to more of that acoustic look, which I think is going to look really good, based on the renderings that we have. Inside, reworking some of the LED lighting. We're always trying things and then we're learning from it.
Right.
Figuring out how does it look more professional? How does it look better? And that's why I kind of agree that our homes always have that timeless sense, because we always build a traditional exterior. Like the framing itself is a traditional home, right? And then there's nothing that's not replaceable, for lack of a better terms, but even when you walk in the homes, if you wanted to add, or the traditional coffered ceilings and wainscoting came back, you can easily add it to our style. You're not forced to rip down everything and restart. Versus if you build a traditional home, fully traditional home, and you want to go with a more of a modern look, you need to rip down the majority of the stuff that's done. So I think it allows people to not only expand on what we're currently building on, especially if they get involved during the build process, but it's easy for them to tailor it to themselves 10, 15, 20 years down the road. But I really enjoy, I think, our colors, our color schemes, our designs, the way that we keep picking, we just redesigned the whole finish package, right? For the most part, right? Like every sheet got touched, and it was all in efforts to keep up with times, stay a little bit ahead of the game, notice what people are doing, how it can complement our style, and implement that stuff. So I think one good thing about the team is that we never stop looking for new innovative ways to just adjust and just stay slightly ahead of what everybody else is presenting. So that's why I'm really excited about Sims and Park, because we're finally going to introduce a lot of the new changes. We got the new exteriors, which I'm super excited about.
Even Pinehurst, we can do that. The changes.
Yeah, the changes too. Yeah, some of the interior changes will start with Pinehurst. I'm just really excited. I don't know. I'm just really excited to develop an entire block for the most part, right? There's probably going to be like 4 homes that we're not doing on that block, but it'll be excited to say, like, what'd you build? The whole block.
Rename the street.
I mean, taking it away from the design aspect, it's like the company now. I'm not talking about the company. It's literally the next stepping stone. Like this is like you go from single houses to 2 or 3 lot subdivisions. Then this is like a mini development, right? So as long as we survive and see this to the end, then we position ourselves to continuously, obviously, grow from here.
When we.
Yeah. So a whole lot of points I want us to touch on, but to your point, Matt, so in terms of what our focus is and where we are now and where the company started when you and Hugo were, in the inception, the focus was a lot of single family home building, and that's still our niche. That's still our bread and butter, as you put it. What are some of the projects that maybe are stepping outside of that comfort zone, if at all? Is that the direction that we're heading toward? Or are we continuing to work on single family homes, and that's where we wanna primarily lie in?
It didn't start as single family homes. It started just renovations. Well, in single family homes, but not like development of single family homes. Right. It just became it's easier. Like single family development is more money, but it's so much easier in terms of just just getting it done. Because in a renovation, like for example, our construction manager Beto, right? You can teach him how to do a renovation or a new construction, and he'll get it 10 times faster than he gets a renovation. Because renovation requires more thought. Like, okay, this is what it looks like now. If I move this here, do that there, do this here, move this here, do this here, then it's going to affect how it's going to look later. And then by the time it's later and you realize that you messed something up, it's already done. So it looks like shit. You can't fix it because it's already done. So that's where it started. Renovations, then it went to additions, then it went to foundation additions, right? Adding square footage in terms of foundation, which is like most people do in Jersey. Then you obviously get to new construction, then you get to subdivision, then you get your larger subdivisions, then you get to developments. So this is like the next stepping stone, these bigger projects, right? You could do like little commercial retrofits, right? Like we dabble a little bit in that, right? A small fraction of our revenue goes towards that. Like we're not looking to build apartment buildings, none of that kind of stuff.
Got it.
So it's single family development, but obviously a larger scale. But it's also, like I was saying, in North Jersey, unfortunately, unless you put multiple pieces of property together and syndicate a deal or something like that, whatever the word is, make a deal out of multiple pieces of property, you're not going to find anything. That's why most people stick to retrofitting an existing foundation or whatever, because trying to find an amount of land to get bigger than what we're doing is very difficult. Unless you get like the one-offs.
I get this question a lot from people that know of us or work with us or alongside us. And they always ask me, how did Hugo and Matt meet? And how did that relationship, business partnership, friendship start? For the people watching, you guys want to share a little bit how that happened? Maybe you were working on a renovation project, Hugo came along. Like, how did that whole interaction come about?
How we met. I can't remember every detail, but I could tell you that.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing both versions.
I mean, Hugo did not look like what he looks like now. He had a beard, like one of those Peter Griffith beard, that where he had birds living in his beard.
I can't picture it. I'm so used to the clean cut look.
No, it was big. It was big.
It was.
That I remember. I remember the house. Like in hindsight, that house guaranteed should have been a knockdown. Like that goes back to the progression thing. Like back then it was like, oh my God, new construction. That's way out of our league. We can't do new construction, this, that, the other thing. So we like forced like in my opinion, the house looks like shit. Like now looking at it, I'm like, this house looks terrible. And we renovated. I mean, we did a good job, but I remember the house, again, the deal. I remember that he worked at Culture back when Culture was Culture. I don't even know if Culture exists anymore. And then I remember, there was a deal in Union that you had, and then that's pretty much it. I mean, I honestly can't tell you, and that says a lot. Like there was no purpose to the meeting. Like I didn't meet with him. Yeah, we went over to go over a deal, but it was genuine. Like it was just like, hey, like let's get together, let's meet. And that's why I'm having such a hard time remembering it, because we've had so many interactions and encounters since then.
Just organically happens.
Yeah, like and again, there's no
beginning.
hidden agenda behind it. It's like, oh, hey, like we're meeting up, and that's it. And plus, my memory's shot, so I don't have a good memory.
Yeah. Well, what were some of your first impressions?
Oh, it's a great question.
Yeah.
Damn, he's short.
No.
Look at that beard.
The beard. Clearly, that was an impression thing for him.
I'm trying to think if you ever got emotional with me.
In that project, or
in general. I mean, yeah, that project I guess was the stepping stone, but
I'm pretty sure I did.
Like heated, yeah, maybe. Because I'm very cool-headed. Like I don't really get angry, right? And then obviously, the opposite typically attracts, right? Not that Hugo gets angry, but you know, more on the emotional side for sure.
You don't have to lie to people, man. I get emotional driven.
So
we'll call it.
You're passionate.
Passionate.
Yeah, passionate. That's the right word.
Good word there.
What else? Man, obviously willing to get down and dirty. That's it's clear as day.
Full suits getting soaked.
Yeah, like he's about it, you know? He's about it.
I remember, not to cut you off, I remember this one time, it was maybe like 9-10 p.m. You guys had to go dig somewhere.
Oh,
You
yeah.
were
Where
around
was
that time?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
244 North Martine,
Yeah,
or
it was,
North
yeah,
Martine
but-
project.
I know, but you were around?
Yeah,
Dude, that was-
No, I think you were maybe part-time still.
maybe. It was very beginning. There was no home, I don't think there was a
Yeah, because
foundation
the
just
next
yet.
day they needed to set the next morning. I remember blowing the fuck up on Ben. Oh my God, when he was around. Oh my God.
good old Ben.
I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah, that was an
I hope
interesting
he's
night.
still alive.
Yeah,
If you
but
are Ben.
I think it speaks a lot to the chemistry that you guys have. And yes, you have the cool, level-headed, and you have the passionate, and
I think halfway through the dig, I'm like, fuck this. I'm gonna call Ronnie. He'll do it tomorrow. Because I'm like,
we were
we've
there
been
for a
digging
while.
for like 3 hours, and the thing didn't,
Yeah.
like, it was no dent.
Yeah.
Like a machine, you come in with a machine, it takes you 15 minutes to do what we did in 3 hours. Or more, you could finish the whole thing.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
two small shovels, and we're trying to move this. He's like, we got to move a little bit of dirt.
It was a mountain.
You're laughing because you know Matt.
excavating the hole. Yeah.
It's taller than I was, which doesn't speak volumes. But anyways, I mean, it was still tall.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, and it was wide, and it was literally right in front of the opening. And I get there, and I'm like, this is not a little bit of dirt,
Could be
Right.
here all night.
And
Better
then-
cancel your plans.
dude.
Bait and switch,
Yeah.
baby.
Planned.
I
I
just gotta
was
get you
at the
there.
dinner table when you called me. And I
No,
was
and
like, oh, I
and
gotta go.
he said, I think I don't know if I was there, but he might have asked you like, "Oh, do you have a shovel, or do you want to come dig with me?" And your answer was more along the lines of, "Who are we wearing? What body are we wearing? Where?"
Pretty much. Like,
So
I mean,
yeah.
it's a random phone call, but it goes to show like that's the stuff that happens in this
Yeah.
business. And when people want to get involved, you got to be ready for that kind of stuff,
Mm.
right? Doesn't matter how well you plan everything, which is a big challenge for me because I'm like plan, and if you plan, everything goes as expected. And he just like laughs at me and he's like, "Yeah, okay."
I was
And that's a perfect example of it, where it's like we're not going to get a foundation set if we don't move this ginormous piece of
but
dirt.
the companies always make a big deal about it. Like these trucks weigh tons, like tons. This fucking truck that carries these foundation walls in the crane must weigh like 40 tons. That truck runs over that pile of dirt, that shit's getting squashed. Meanwhile, we're here breaking our back in the middle of the night when this truck can literally just drive over this fucking pile of dirt.
Yeah.
Like, I was pissed. That's why I started going off on Ben.
I didn't go to the gym for 2 days because of the blisters on my hands.
Oh shit.
I didn't
Yeah,
bring
it was
any
bad.
gloves because he said it was a
Yeah.
little bit of dirt.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, a little bit of dirt's not going to take
It's
too
not
long.
his fault. It's your fault for not knowing better.
Yeah, I should have. I should have known that. I got to be careful with what he
Right.
says. Just like he says, when it's a lot, it's always the inverse of what he says. We got this huge deal. It's not a big deal, or it's not as much as he says. And every time I ask him for a number, he's like, "Oh, it's like $1 gajillion." I'm like, "Right, well, what's the real number?" It's like 40 grand. Okay, well, that's not $1 gajillion,
take.
right? But when he says something in that aspect, I should definitely have known better. But that's happened plenty of times. Not that late, not that specifically, but there's always been like the random stuff.
Yeah.
And that first house was
The water in the basements.
oh my god, that
That.
the walking the plank.
Did you come when we were doing the house on Candace? Were you there?
I didn't go to Candace. No,
Oh, that's right.
I didn't get
That
involved in
was
Candace
terrible,
because
man.
that was just your thing with the homeowner, and I'm not gonna like intervene and reintroduce myself and kind of throw things for a whack. But I'll never forget when Matt and I had
We
to
sold that
meet
thing though, right? You sold it.
we just sold Candace all that work, and they decided to sell it. But the house was beautiful. It was a great house. They built it very spec. But I'll never
What year was this?
This was Candace was 21.
20 to 21.
Yeah, 20 to 21.
Got it.
Because
Yeah.
we sold in April or June of 21, right?
Yes.
Something like that. Whatever. But yeah, it was Thanksgiving. Hold on. Black Friday or Thanksgiving, one of those. And it was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, and again, I work 24/7. I don't give a shit if it's Christmas Eve or Christmas or New Year's Day. I don't care. So I went, I'm like, and I get into the house. I'm like, I'm just going to check. Nobody's working. These are like the perfect times to go because nobody's bothering me. I could just focus on like what needs to be done, make the punch list, and do what I got to do. And I open the garage door, and I'm like, something fucking stinks in here.
And it's not me.
Yeah, it's definitely not me. I don't know, like something, like I felt like, damn, like something really smells in here. And whatever, like I go upstairs, I go downstairs. I must be in the house for 20 minutes. I'm like, damn, like for real, like something smells in here. And I open the door to the basement and I just hear shh, like something going off.
Oh, I remember.
And the house was
calling me
done.
about that.
Like this
the
is
house was finished.
This was punchless time, right?
Yeah.
Like done.
Yeah.
And then next thing I know, I walk downstairs and there was like 3 feet of water. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. The first thing I thought was just jump in. I go to shut off the valve. But the valve isn't the problem. The valve that was attached, the shutoff valve, snapped off the water main because the pressure from the street was coming in too hot. And I couldn't do anything. So I had to like jimmy rig a hose and then try to siphon the water to the outside the best I could. But it was all types of fucked up.
It's happened a few times when the projects are done. And it'll usually happen sometimes in the middle of projects, but that's when it really sucks. Because then you're
like
replacing a ton of stuff.
One thing I hated the most about doing construction, I don't even know how we got to this topic, but one of the, not hated, but one of the hardest or scariest things to do was to turn on the water when the house was done. You know, because it's the first time you're testing all the pipes, like real testing with everything like hooked up and on, and you always bank on something being wrong. But then as I got into it more, I'm like, whatever, turn that shit on, fix it, get done. You know? Another thing was, just like the finishing. The finishing is always the hardest part. Not the hardest. It's the most tedious.
Yeah.
Detail oriented.
Yeah.
What's the home that in the development of your partnership that really posed the biggest challenge, either structurally or emotionally? Which home do you think, oh, yeah, that's the one. That was a tough
Matt
one.
doesn't emotionally anything. So, what house do you? I already know what house it is for me.
Yeah.
I hated that house.
So say it at the same time. Do you have yours in mind?
Oh, hold on. I'm thinking.
Okay. We'll give you
Homeowner
loading.
project's not included. Because then you have the emotional aspect of the homeowner, which that can be completely
No.
different.
Yeah, these are just projects. Hold on, I'm thinking.
Don't say it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm thinking of what because there's always something in every house. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck, this fucking sucks, man. I don't know.
Or it could be something that tested your relationship with Hugo, too.
Ooh, that could be a good one. Again, it's going to be difficult for Matt. Come on, tell me the house. Because I know what house.
What is the name?
It's between two.
All right, we'll just say the street.
The street?
Yeah.
Okay. Ready? Just pick one. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
Madison.
Okay.
Sims.
Gotta hear these. So Madison,
Sim-
we'll start
Sim-
with that one because that
Sims
one was
was tough.
first.
Sims.
Madison Ave was the first project we did together. That's where
Okay.
we met.
Tell us.
And
Tell
that
us more.
house was 1800s home. That, like he said, we probably should have just tore it down. The amount of work that went into that house was like,
We could have saved a shit ton of money by knocking it down.
yeah, we could have. We barely broke even on that house, but the amount, I'm grateful for it because I learned a lot,
Yeah.
you know, and it was anywhere between, I mean, the foundation was terrible. It was from the 1800s. It was in a high water table. Nothing was leveled in terms of like the house itself. So if you would jack up one side, the other side would go down. You would jack up, the other corner would go down. And we were playing like whack fuck for like 2 months trying to level out the actual decking of the house, again, on existing foundation. And that's where it becomes a little bit more tough because you're working with existing parameters. Downstairs had 5 lolly columns. So you had posts everywhere in the basement. And
The house had a cricket problem. Every fucking
so it was
time.
so no. We had Scotch Plains has cave crickets. I don't want to scare people, but they're spiders that jump like crickets. I
Creepy little
hate
ones.
spiders, and I'll never forget.
There were like so many in that house.
So we right behind the electrical panel there was this board where they usually hang the electrical panel on the plywood. And I'll never forget when we were demoing, they went to go hit it, and behind it was a nest of them, and they just like, I'm sure, like they were everywhere. Like if the room was painted white, it was now black because they were everywhere. So I hated those. I mean, like terrified. That and like mice are my two
You must
things.
have like had to
Mice?
shower so many
Really?
times
Yeah, I
after
hate
that.
mice. I hate mice. But
That's so
jumping
funny.
spiders is a little bit weirder
Yeah.
for me on the scale, right? So I was always like really like skeeved out and like itching when there was nothing to itch or scratch or like whatever, like a scratch when there's nothing to itch. And then I'll never forget the day. 2 scenarios. Upstairs, we're doing the demo, and the guys were like, "Hey, there's always bees in this room, like 3 to 5 bees." So I call an exterminator and be like, "Hey, can you come do something about this?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." They were still cleaning it out. There was bags of garbage everywhere. The home had been like that for years. So they come, they spray it. They're like, "Yep, you should be good." I go back the next day, say, "Hey, I still see bees." He comes back, he sprays again. "Okay, no problem, no bees." So they start clearing everything out, and there's a window. And they're doing the demo, and they take this hammer, and they hit underneath the window so they could remove the sheetrock. And there was a beehive, probably about 4 feet wide, underneath the windowsill, and about a foot in depth. And the bees came out to fight.
Yeah.
They were stinging everybody.
Oh, shit.
They
It
were
was
going
that-
under people's
wow.
shirts. They got my
Wait,
stepson.
were you there?
No.
Oh,
Of course
okay.
he wasn't.
Like-
They got my stepson in his shoe. Like, it actually went in his shoe and then stung him. Everybody was
All
like
that's what
running
everyone
around. This
was
was on the
doing.
3rd floor.
Oh my God.
Everybody
Yeah, I was
was running
doing that.
around the 3rd floor because these bees had just exploded everywhere. So I had to get the guys back out again. Sprayed it, took care of it. So that was funny-ish.
Not now it's funny. Then it was
Yeah. I mean, like, I
terrorizing.
didn't get bit, so I always found it slightly comical. But I did feel bad for the people because, I mean,
Yeah.
the bees were not happy,
Yeah.
and rightfully so, right? But I'll never forget the day that I go to the house, and again, it's on a high water table, so these pumps are always running. And I'm in a full suit. Again, I'm just walking the house. I'm just coming to check what's going on. Well, it just so happened that the pump stopped working. So now so it shorted because it stopped working.
Yeah.
Now we have water again. And I'm like, okay. So I grabbed what we called our Peppa Pigs at the time. So we got rain boots and we called them our Peppa Pigs. That's how we knew we were going into the water. Right. So I grabbed my Peppa Pigs. I'm in a blue suit. Right. I'll never forget this. I was so mad. I was so pissed. So I go downstairs and I'm in the water. Right. The water is like
Past
up
your
to-
Peppa Pigs.
yeah, almost at my Peppa Pigs. I mean, like, it is like I'm barely breaking even there. I'm short, so it sucks. And I find the pump, and I'm like, okay. I find the line to the pump, and here's my fault. I didn't check why the pump stopped working. So when I plugged it in, I found out really fast. So I plugged it in, and out came a geyser. What happened is that the hose disconnected from the pump. The hose that sends the water outside.
Yeah.
So the pump was pumping water inside, and eventually the plug touched the water and it turned off because it overfilled. So all it did was the ceiling height was about 7 feet,
Yeah.
and the plug was here and the pump was there. So I just grabbed the plug, wrapped it around the nail so it wouldn't fall, and plugged it in. The minute I plugged it in, it was just geyser. And it shot up, hit the ceiling, and just splashed everywhere. So I walk out of there, and I mean, my first phone call to him was him, obviously. I was emotional, to say the least. I was pissed.
Livid.
But that house, I think, not only did we not make anywhere near as what we assumed, it was just like everything all the time. Like, it was always something at that house.
Yeah.
And I'm just like looking back and I'm like, yeah, we could have just knocked it down. But at that time too, like, we had done no new constructions.
Yeah, it was
We also had just met too.
Was that the biggest barrier? Is we haven't done new construction before, we just met, or did it make sense at the time in terms of the deal, and you wanted to work around renovation?
So the numbers
renovating
made
it?
sense.
Yeah.
It's just, again, when you're doing a renovation, you don't know what you're getting into until you peel back the
Right.
walls, right? And really see what else is coming. Because everything that we planned out happened. It was just all the other stuff that came about as the project went on. And it was more money, more money, more money, more money. And thankfully we sold it, and we sold it quick, and, you know, we skated out and we learned a lot. And I think that's where Matt really then started looking into, like, the new construction, like, what's the big difference?
Yep.
And I
I was
love
like, fuck this.
Yeah, it
Fuck
was.
this house.
Yeah. See, so I know you remember Madison Ave. It was just,
but like all the stories you are telling, I don't remember those.
yeah, because you
I
weren't
think
there.
I think of I remember the crickets because those things were everywhere all
Yeah.
the time.
I hated those,
I just remember those. The backyard was a fucking swamp.
but it was a beautiful backyard.
It was
It's
huge.
huge.
Yeah.
The
The
house
lot
was
was
like
like-
205 feet in
Yeah,
depth.
like-
It was a really big one. Yeah, it's funny that you said that. I went to go see a property for a subdivision in Cranford, and the neighbor comes out, and she's like, Hugo? And I was like, and she's like, Stacy and Dante. And I'm like, oh, crap. So they were one of, like, the first flippers that I met when I first got into real estate, when I was with culture. And at that time, all I was doing is I was buying
did the one on
things.
Acacia?
They didn't do Acacia. No.
Who was that? That was another guy.
That was oh my God. Let's not put this out there because I'm forgetting their name. I love them, bro. They're freaking great. They actually just opened up
They're Mike Gomes' friend, right?
yes, they just opened up a laundry mat in Kenilworth, but they're buying, like, out of state multi-units,
Because nobody can afford Jersey anymore.
things like that. Yeah.
Like Jersey's getting crazy.
But
anyway, keep
they
going.
came out, and I had pitched to them Cranford.
Franklin.
Like, yeah, just to dump it. And they were like, no, it's too much for us. And they were like, holy crap. We did not see that house turning out like that. are like, we were really impressed. And I was like, I was trying to tell you.
Well, that was new construction.
Yeah,
It ended up being new construction. It didn't start as that.
Wait, you could definitely talk about when Franklin's the second floor collapsed while they were doing the demo.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Where was this?
In Cranford, on Franklin.
Also, okay.
Yeah, when we were doing when it was just going to be a renovation, we decided to start doing some work and gutting it. And a tree had fallen on the house like years prior, right? The house was condemned. And they started to demo everything out, right? So they started upstairs and they worked their way downstairs, and they're in the back half of the house, and that's where the tree had fallen. So, some of the structure had given. And there was this, we blame it on the clawfoot tub because it was a massive clawfoot tub. I mean, the thing must have weighed like 1,000+ pounds. And they hit something downstairs to demo it, and the entire backside of the house fell onto the first floor. And thankfully, nobody got hurt. But his first phone call, again, learning Matt, the entire second floor just caved in. And I'm like, what do you mean? We're the people. We're the people, right? So I get there and I walk in, and half of the first floor collapsed. And everybody's just standing around looking at it. And I'm like, you guys good? And they're like, they look at me and they're like, yeah, we're okay. And I'm like, well, you guys are a lot calmer than I would have been.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal. Like the big deal.
Somebody almost died, but it's fine.
The big deal was that it was supposed to be salvaged. That's what I was worried about. I was like, fuck, this was supposed to be saved. Now it fell. But then I was like, okay, well, if the second floor falls, the wall sucks. So that means the roof is going to start to fall. And if the roof starts to fall, then we definitely can't fucking keep any of this shit. But at the end of the day, it turned out to be new construction anyway. The key and the lesson learned there is no matter what you do, you have to be decisive and you have to stick to the plan. Period. Like if we just stuck to doing new construction, we could have saved ourselves like $60,000 between the demo, between the labor, between the approvals, between
time,
holding $60,000-$70,000 easily. So but that house was a little bit of a bitch. And then COVID happened. We budgeted like $30,000 for lumber. We spent like $140,000. Like this was right after COVID, so lumber prices just shot up like crazy. And then we took a massive loss on the house, but it is what it is. We delivered the house, that's what's important, and we kept it moving.
Yeah,
it was our biggest loss. I mean, but at the end of the day, like even like having conversations, every time on different projects, I learned something new, whether it be construction or process driven. With the townships, with how things work.
Right.
So every time I talk to somebody, like I was just talking, because that home was in a flood zone. And a lot of people don't know. And I feel smart. When I'm telling people, I'm like, it sucked when I was experiencing it, but it's cool now that I get to pass that education on. Like you can't improve a home in a flood zone more than a certain percentage. They'll decline the improvement, even if it's just like an addition. And that was the first issue we ran into. You cannot, it was 25%, right? If I remember. So you can't improve a house more than 25% of its assessed value if it's in a flood zone. It's considered a massive improvement at that point, and you have to go for a variance.
Yeah, the issue with this house is that the assessed value is like $10,000. So $2,500? Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So it was again, there's Matt's excessiveness. So what happened was that the minute the house was condemned, they dropped the assessment value.
Yeah.
Right? And then they hit us with hey, you can't improve it that much because you can only improve up to 25%. I'm like, have you guys seen the house? 25% of the value was like, I think it was like $40,000. I'm like, that's windows alone. Yeah. I said, I was like, why don't you raise it to the previously assessed value? We'll pay taxes on that, and then we'll go based off of that. And they're like, yeah, it's not the way it works. And I was like, okay. But again, something that I learned, because I had an agent reached out to me, and they're like, hey, I have this client. They're looking to do this on this house that's in a flood zone. I say, hey, listen, first and foremost, I just want to make you aware, when you're making a massive improvement on a flood zone, it cannot exceed more than 25% of the value, not percentage of square footage, just the sheer value of the improvement cannot exceed 25% of the currently assessed value without requiring a variance. And
I think that's only Cranford, though.
You sure about that?
Yeah, because the FEMA only cares about the lot. You can't over improve the lot. So if you have 1,000 square foot footprint, you cannot do more than 1,000 square foot footprint. And the dirt, you have to have a net loss of 0, which means that the amount of dirt that's there has to stay there. So if you take out more dirt, you have to put dirt back to make the net 0, to make the net grade 0.
I'm gonna have to look at that if it's just Cranford.
I think it is, because that was the biggest hurdle, because I've never experienced that anywhere else.
So I think one of the cool things for me is working alongside our team. Each one of us has our talents and our skills. Hugo, one of the things I admire, there are plenty of things I admire, but one of the things is just your memory is so sharp, and you can reference things from 2-3 years ago, and you're like, oh yeah, cite this. And so I think it's very cool that in that way through you, we're able to capture and use that knowledge in future projects. So when we mess up, we're able to step back in and know how to adapt so that we don't run into the same issues. And same thing with Matt on certain things. So one of the things that we're working on recently is we're trying to document that better so that when the team starts to grow, people coming in are able to capture some of that knowledge, and it's not just transferred verbally, but just documented. And so I just wanted to point that out because I think it's cool that, not only are we learning as individuals, but we're trying to document that and have it for people coming into the team. But going back to the conversation with you guys is when you guys have a very different mentality, I've noticed, than other people when it comes to solving problems. And I think at this point, you've encountered just so many of them and so many failures along the way in construction projects specifically. But how would you compare your thought process behind problem solving now as opposed to 5 years ago when you guys met? What is the change there between how you used to solve problems then and how you solve them now?
That's a good question.
Back then, there was no really thought process. It's just figure it out, because you're by yourself. Like the implications on you and the problems because of you, and the solution is because you made it a solution. Now it's different. Now you have to kind of consider all the angles. How is this person going to feel about it? How's that person going to take it? Why is this person going to do this? Why is that person going to do that? You're just like, you're a therapist. Like, you're trying to figure out the problem, but you're trying to make it so that way everybody doesn't become sour about it. As someone's always going to have something to say about it, which is another thing. You always have to hear people out. That doesn't mean you need to take every single bit of their piece, but say, okay, take a little bit of this person's, take a little bit of that person's. And I'm speaking as like, the person that, like the funnel at the top, right? That everybody always, the problems gets fixed from, like the CEO or whatever you want to call it. But like, that's kind of, now it's different. Things take time to kind of make the process. Now, you don't want to make it so bureaucratic where everything needs to always be an approval process. Like, people need their things to say. Like, Alan does marketing. Like, no one's going to get involved in his way of doing the marketing, right? But if there's things that need to be said about the marketing thing, we all have input on it, and hopefully he takes advice on it. Same thing with you in operations, and Hugo with the sales, and me with just the whole company, and then construction with Beto. Like, everybody runs their own decisions in the department. But that doesn't mean you can't hear other people's opinion out on it, because you might be so tunnel vision on your way that you might be able to see something from a different angle. But that's the real difference, is that once you have more people involved, there's too much at stake to make a decision by yourself. Unless it's at a certain point, someone has to be the decision maker. Someone has to pull the trigger on something. And a decision is better than no decision. Like Ether, for example. We sold our Ether position right before it took off $800. Fucking annoying motherfucking shit. I'm going to bring that up forever.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about that. So we're a home building company. How does this trade fit into this picture?
Because it's on our balance sheet, right? So we've been buying Ethereum for the last 3 years, just on recurring weekly deposit. We've built up a tremendous amount of coins, and then we just sold, because we're like, fuck it. It went from 2,000 to 2,900, and then when it retraced back to 27 or 2,800, I'm like, whatever. Hugo, what do you think about this? Brandon, what do you think about this? We needed the money anyway to close on the new projects, right? So the objective of the position and the objective of having it on its balance sheet served its purpose, right? So it served its purpose. It's like, okay, we use this money when we need it, and we absolutely have to do it. So we did it, and we did it. But the fucked up part is, hypothetically, if we just pushed off the closings a week, we just made up some bullshit, literally some bullshit, we can't close because the seller or the buyer's not able to do something, and just literally 1 week. This was 1 week ago. In 1 week, we would have made an extra $170,000 in 1 week, right? So anything to potentially push the deal that would have yielded us tremendous more profit. But it is what it is. You know, you sold it, we closed, and we got over with.
I mean, hindsight's always 2020,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
So
it's
it could have
always-
gone the other way.
Exactly, correct.
Absolutely.
So-
And I think that's what helps our dynamic as well, as we're able to keep each other accountable and recognize when we're being either too data driven or too emotion driven, and where is that fine line that we need to walk. And so I think what was helpful there is that you say this all the time, we are home builders. We're not traders. And
Oh,
so
no, of course. Yeah. Again, it's
I
served its
think-
purpose.
exactly, but I think as you, as our leader, have embedded that within the team. And so now when we think about things, it's more so, what is our focus? What is the purpose of, what legacy are we building? And so part of that is building single family homes. And so when it came time to make that decision, it was because we needed to close on the homes. And so I think either way, however you look at it, like you said, hindsight is 2020. At the time, when you're looking from a rear view mirror in your car, any risk, anything that felt like a risk at that time, looking back at it is either an opportunity or a missed opportunity. So I think here, in the sense, it was an opportunity because we were able to close on the homes that, you know, we're about to start building. But I don't know. There's always going to be something that we wish we
still
could have
make-
done
Like he said,
differently.
it could have went down.
There was still good money that was made
Yeah.
when the sell happened,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah,
it's not like we broke even or lost money. It's just we didn't make as much, right? But
And-
we could have been in the same place,
Right.
Right? And now we're chasing our tail because now
Yeah.
we've just given back everything that we've made, you know. And that was kind of Brandon's perspective on it. It's like, hey, listen, it could go here. It could go a little bit further, but it can go a whole hell lot lower. So let's just take it here. And I'm like, well, if Brandon's saying this and you're saying this, you're all saying the same thing, but then now you're forward thinking. The safest bet is here, especially if we need, right? Which is another thing, you know, like
Yeah.
when we start doing these bigger projects, that requires a lot more cash infusion into these projects. So there are going to be times that we may have to liquidate when we don't want to liquidate. And, you know, Matt will talk about this for the next 5 years, and Ethereum is going to hit, you know, like 5,000, and then he's going to talk about it again then. And it's fine. Like, listen, I get it. I'm with him. Like, listen, if the money could have stayed there, it wouldn't have even been a conversation. I think the first time I brought up selling Ethereum was really to balance the balance sheet out and pay back some of the debt. And then eventually it came as a conversation as, hey, you know, now that we need $1 million to close on a project, right? We're not buying, you know, 1 or 2 homes.
Yeah, that's again, it's the next stepping stone. That's what it comes down to. It's really the next
Yeah.
phase
Yeah.
or the next
Okay.
bigger thing.
So bringing things back full circle, we talked a little bit about how you guys met, first impressions, projects, challenges you guys have faced together. So taking it a step further and into the future, what are some of the things that you're excited to face together, or what are you excited about in your partnership going forward?
I'm just really excited to see everything come to fruition. Meaning, I don't think that holistically we present, like, it doesn't show everything that's happened to get to this point, right? It's kind of like anything else, right? Like, you know, you see it on Instagram or you see it on social media, you see it somewhere, like, oh, this is so cool, and so on and so forth, and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, it's the walking the plank to get across to a house when it's flooded. It's getting soaked. It's digging dirt. It's this, it's that. And it's just one person. Then it's 2 people. Then it's 3 people. Then it's 4. Then it's 5. Then it's 6. And it's 7. And it starts to progress. I really can't wait to look back. I was going to say when I'm 40, but that's right around the corner. When you guys are 40 and look back and just, you know, just really, because I think a lot of people lose sight, right? They're just like next. And then they feel like the constant struggle of growing a business or doing anything in life. And they never look back and be like, man, a year ago it was this, and 2 years ago it was that, and 5 years ago it was nothing. It was a thought.
Yeah,
That's really what I'm most excited in. And I mean, if it does happen to IPO and we get to cut that ribbon, I mean, that would be great too. That would be cool. But I think really scaling what we do, in the sense of, could it be more project? Could it be a bigger team that can support more projects? Could it be something as simple as, filing with the SEC to take on accredited investors? Like, all those are milestones that I think that will make huge waves, as long as we continue to analyze and manage, the way we do, and, fine tune certain things and be very proactive instead of reactive in a lot of cases. I think that we have, we have a good road ahead of us, and that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah. No, I think it's really exciting. We have a lot of cool things coming, and now that we're working and functioning well as a team, there are always areas to improve in, but it's just onward from here. Yeah. But thanks both for, sharing a little bit more. I know a lot of people are curious about our chemistry and our functioning as a team, so hopefully that answers a few questions.
A refrigerator?
Are you gonna display this on the thing?
Dude, this dog lives better than I do.
Of course, it's a golden.
So okay. Listen, I'm all for it. I think that there's definitely value in personalizing that. Again, and that's why we try to do it on Montclair. And the first question I asked them is, do you have a dog? Yeah. I was so excited for them to say yeah, and they're like, yeah, no. And I was like, oh, okay, never mind.
Do most of the homeowners that we work with have dogs or no? I feel like no.
No, not really.
I don't need any of. Winnie. That's the first thing I thought of.
Wait,
cute.
Building hacks the pros never talk about.
Save for later.
Build with credit card.
Okay.
You're going way too
Damn,
fast.
bro. Who's expecting to read that? Not me.
That was the quickest. Hold on.
In your speed reading.
It's
All right, let's do
cash
this.
conversion cycle with credit cards.
All right. Build with credit cards to maximize cash back and points, free money. Okay.
That's cash conversion.
No. Set up vendor accounts with local building suppliers. Some vendors give discounts
Cash
for paying accounts
conversion.
early. Okay. And Home Depot is typically more expensive on major building products. That's
Which is also true. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, Matt loves that. Matt's got more points than I don't know what.
Yeah,
no, but my favorite is that he doesn't use them. He just racks them up.
I started to. Fucking hell.
You started to use the points?
Yeah. Using them.
Okay.
I got you your laptop with your points.
Oh, okay.
You guys think there were good tips though?
What?
What?
It's just cash conversion. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about if you use the dollar today, if it's all timing. So let's say your statement is due on the 1st, right? But you spend something on the 2nd. So the new statement recorded, right? That money that you spent on the 2nd of January, let's say, is not due until March 1st. So you have 60 days until you owe that money. So that's all they're talking about, is how quickly you're able to recycle the cash back into your business, which is, I mean, it's more finance than construction, but it's fine. I mean, yeah, it's true. It's not improper to say that.